Alright, welcome back everybody. Here I got a scrap piece of ABS and another scrap piece of ABS. Quite a bit difference in thickness. This one's 1/16, this one's 3/16. I think this is 2 millimeters and this one's closer to 5 millimeters. That's easy stuff to work with. It glues up nicely with methyl ethyl ketone. If you need to make it thicker and you only have the thin stuff, grab another scrap piece. Paint on some methyl ethyl ketone where you want to glue it, paint it on the other side, put it together, put it down somewhere, and if this was a lead brick or a lead acid battery or something, you just place it on there, let it sit overnight, 24 hours, come back, remove your heavy weight, whatever it might be, then these two pieces will be miraculously joined, then you can cut them and shape them however you want. Alright. So I'm going to hopefully show you two different styles, and by miracle of TV, here is a glued up piece right here. And all the magic wizardry. So this could work for a suspension arm if you wanted to do custom suspension. You can do this stuff much faster than you could by sitting behind a TV screen and programming it in, but the trick is to be able to make 4 of them the same, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of them the same, right? If you're making uppers and lowers the same. So that part will be kind of difficult when you're making them by hand, but you can definitely make 2 of them at a time. You can use some double-sided tape, glue 2 of these halves together, or temporarily use hot glue, whatever the case, and then you can shape them, drill them. That way you have, in theory, 2 mirror images of each other. So they hold down the center right here. That would represent a pivot point where you can put a screw or something. And just to show you how that works, so that sits in there like so, and that can become a pivot point, right? Just like that. This is not necessary. I just did this so to show you guys you can make a suspension arm the same way, right? So if this could be the bottom of a chassis, or this could be depending on the ride height. If you want extra ride height, you could put it like this and give you more extra ride height, however you want to do it. 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Now, you could drill out this hole in here to put bearings inside this hub on each side, right? You could put bearings in here, or you could run an M3 screw in here like I have done. Again, this is not for any particular use that I'm currently doing on this. Is just a demonstration. If you put bearings, for example, in this tire and wheel combination, front and back, then you could simply slide it in place, put a lock nut in there, and then you are good to go, right? Of course, that's a horrible idea, but I think that's going to get you close if you're wanting to make a custom steering knuckle. Next one I'll do is I'll do it out of the piece of plastic right here. I'm going to draw something out, I'm going to cut it out, I'm going to form it and bend it, and we'll go from there. So on this piece of plastic right here, I just used a sharp, this used to be a Phillips screwdriver by the way, I just sharpened it up. I just used a sharp tip right here, and I just kind of drew out a straight line. Again, I'm not using measurements for demonstration. And I picked a center point. This is where your axle of some sort would go, and I drew a little piece off to the side, and that's where you can attach your servo link or steering link. We're going to heat it up somewhere in this area, bend it over, heat it up somewhere in this area, and bend it over. Now I'll use my rotary tool with a cutoff wheel to cut out the rough shape. That joker right there. And as much as I'd like to do this live for you guys on camera, I am just not set up for live video recordings when I'm actually doing hands-on type work like this, so bear with me. So now you can see that I've got the rough shape cut out, and it's very important when you're doing changing directions that you leave it a little bit rounded, because when you go to fold this over or whatever, sharp corners like to crack, especially on the inside, whether it's metal, plastic, glass, what have you, and these are all just burrs from cutting it with a rotary tool. So you leave a nice little rounded edge wherever you can. You can see I free-handed it, but normally I would take the time to make sure everything's nice and square. I'm not going to do that today. So here I have a block of wood that's about the same thickness that I drew right there, and I'll just put my clamp right there and I'll gently heat it up and fold it over. You might want another piece of wood to kind of, so you don't burn your fingers, and fold it over to keep it nice and flat. So I heat up this side here, and now we got a formed piece. Evidently I forgot to hit the play button or the record button when I was doing this, so there's our formed piece. If we wanted to, we could drill it out, put our screw through there similar to the other way, or we could put like another piece of plastic or even a block of wood, drill it out for some bearings, however way you want to do it. And we got this little end piece right here that we can attach a servo link to, and then this could become our steering. So let me clean it up a little bit and we'll show you what I mean. So just by looking at it, you can see it's a little bit off kilter. It's not quite perfect, and that's why you want to make it slightly oversized. The flat spot right here, that's the most important part. We can sand it, we can cut it, we can do it with that, and we can even make it round if you wanted to, and it doesn't have to be that big, but make it big intentionally, then you cut it down, sand it down, whatever you got to do. Let's see if we can do this on camera. I don't know how much of this will get caught on camera. A little bit awkward. And we'll go ahead and try and square it up a little bit more. Let's do a little round over. We'll straighten this edge out up here. Kind of square it up a little bit. Sorry, what you see and what I see are two different things. Turn it the other direction, see what we see over here. It's looking pretty happy. You can trim this down a little bit, or as much as you need to. I mean, this is for a 1/32 scale car. There's no need to make this that big. This would probably be more appropriate for a 1/24 scale. Round off the edges here. Sorry if you guys can't see it. Round over all the edges. Hit it with a piece of sandpaper by hand. Trim that guy up a little bit. Straighten it out. You might end up having to cut this down anyway. And I'll finish it with a piece of sandpaper. So here we go. We got a couple of holes drilled there. in no particular rhyme or reason. I mean, if you need less steering throw, you can put it on the outside hole. If you wanted more steering throw, you can put it on the closer to the inside. But again, this would be a right side. And then here, this happens to be an M2.5. Whatever you use is whatever you use. I've used M2s before. And just shove it in there. And this one's probably clogged up with something. Then you can put your tire and wheel on there, mount it to your chassis, whatever your chassis is. Pretend this is our chassis, and we got our pivot point. All right, so we can drill a hole in there for our pivot point somewhere, wherever we want. But this would be for a front wheel, I mean a rear-wheel drive vehicle only. If you're making an all-wheel drive, you definitely want to acquire some good pre-made hubs, because this would not work for that. So there is an option right there, and you just simply slide, again, you just slide your tire on there, put a lock nut on it, and call it good. Hope that helps. Hope it gets you inspired. That's just a very rough way of doing it. Again, no measurements are used. This is not planned for any vehicles. This is just demonstration, because I don't think I've ever covered this before. I think I've kind of talked about it, but nothing, I don't think I've ever shown anything on it. So hope that helps out. Have a good day. I guess since we're here, so here is a Corvette. You can see that it's got bearings. The front wheels end up being more delicate than I thought, so I had to fill them with epoxy, but there's bearings in the wheels. So that would be for something like this type of setup right here. Alright, so let me show you the steering knuckle on this guy. This one's even more simple, I think. Let me remove the top for you, and I'll show you a close-up on that one. So this one here is just a single piece of this 3/16, right? It looks big in this car, but it's just a single piece. You know, just very simply cut. I think there's a washer underneath here to minimize the friction. I don't know if we can zoom in on there, but yeah, judging by the gap on there, I would say there's probably a washer on the top of this plate here and on the bottom there. And then I just simply got a servo running through that pivot point there. Let's see if we can zoom in on it. It's just a slice in a piece of plastic that's been bent over. You can see it's just basically a square piece of plastic that I've just kind of shaped a little bit. You can't see too much of it, unfortunately, but there's an idea right there. And that's if you're going to put the bearings in the tires. If you're going to put the bearings in the hub, then you probably want to double these up like I showed you in the first one. Something like this. Drill this out bigger, put your bearing in here, put your bearing in here, and then attach your tire and wheel combination. And this is why I would say if you're doing 1/32 scale, it'd probably be easier to use an all-in-one circuit board. As you can see, there are two, I think those are 200 milliamp hour batteries, custom connector to make 7.4 volts, and you have to charge each one individually. This happens to be an ESC receiver for an HBX Rampage. Very simple, very light. Use a coreless motor, and the coreless motor gear and reduction gear actually come out of a drone. So you can see how that works. So I got brass bushings in the rear because, I don't know, the brass bushings seem to roll pretty smooth, but I use ball bearings up front. So there you go. Hope that helps you out. Have a good day.